Last week, one of my best old guitar buddies asked me if I could remember how to play the lead on Rosanna. He'd heard me play it in bands years ago. And listen, it's been 10 years since I played that, like in a hospital benefit, but I used to play it back in the 80s. And I think I've got it pretty much right. There is one of my heroes, a guy named Tim Pierce, did a thing on this lately. Maybe 5-6 months ago. So I told him to go watch Tim's video, and he said, do it slower than Tim does it. And so that's what I'm going to try to do today. And I don't, as I recall, I don't play it exactly the same way Tim does. I think we play the same notes. I just phrase it differently, and my timing, the timing has to be right on it, or it doesn't sound good. So I'm going to go super slow for my buddy and anybody else that wants a super slow of it. Of course, it's in F, B flat, C, all that. So I'm going to start on the F note here, and I always play it with this one finger because it sounds like that's what Lukather's doing. So I would go. Then this lick is pretty cool. And then go slower on that even still if I can. It's hard for me to play it slow. That's where me and Tim differ a little bit, the way I play that. Seems like he goes up here. He has a really big stretch. Since I always played on a Strat, and it was hard because your tremolo would float a little bit, so I would slide up and play that lick higher. One more time, really slow if I can do it slow. Hang on and think right. I like to slide into this F here. I got to go. I like to slide into that note too. That's how I always played it. So that lick really slowly, and for some reason I always do it with these two fingers. It's probably better to do it with these two fingers, but I always did this. Again, that lick really slow. There we go. One last time. The lick is kind of weird because it doubles in a strange way. hopefully that helps somebody. I know a little bit off. There was one note that I used to play differently, and after watching Tim Pierce, I did change my mind on it. I used to play this lick down here this way. I used to go. I put that note in there because it sounded kind of bluesier to me, but I think Tim's right. I think it's this. I think it's... Again, I'm playing it differently than he is, and he's an expert. This is just what I played for years and years, and nobody ever seemed to call me on it. They always thought it sounded great. Anybody, if you care to know what I used to play on the end solo there too, it wasn't exact. I would do probably the first 6 or 8 licks the way Lukather would do it, and then I would get lost because he would go into some kind of like jazz fusion mode. And so I would usually segue into some blues, and again, nobody ever called me on it. But I can show you my end solo for Rosanna too if you care to see that. Peace to all who watch, subscribe to the channel if you like.